We'll go ahead and reconvene the public session. We'll have, John, a report of actions taken in closed session.
Yes, the City Council considered the matter listed on the agenda, as well as 2 additional matters which were added that were announced publicly prior to going into closed session, and there are no reportable actions.
Thank you. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Grummeyer, and then the invocation by Alex Frumushano.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to state that Alex is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, so very glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we're so grateful for all of our freedoms that we have. We are grateful for the opportunity we have to be here together tonight and discuss the welfare of the city. We recognize thy hand in all aspects of our lives. We ask for thy blessing that the city, county officials, and leaders, we pray for their wisdom and ability to hear and address the concerns of the citizens. We would like to keep the first responders, the peace officers, fire department, and so on in our thoughts and prayers day to day. They be safe, they be able to help address the needs of others. Please bless our military, and grateful for each one of their service. Please bless our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, and that they will be comforted in their plight and seek for comfort from thee. Bless the world politicians as well, that they would strive to achieve peace and dignity while keeping people's dignity and respect and freedoms in mind. We ask that those that desire to be here but could not be here for various reasons, that they will be comforted in their at home and keep them safe on the road. And please bless those that are here that may be able to interact in a level that it's peaceful and respectful, and be able to continue to address the needs of the city's welfare. And we say these things, Lord, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alex. Okay. So we have a whole bunch of presentations to do, and I'm going to ask all of council to come down into the well, and we'd like to start with the Community Spirit Award, someone we all know very well, Mrs. Karlene Allen.
So, young lady.
The lady part, yes.
So, thank you so much for coming tonight. Karlene Allen is so deserving of this honor. She and her husband, Bob, has over the years opened up and volunteered their home and their hands for Special Olympics, dinners for senior citizens, weddings, memorial services, fundraisers, Bible classes, party partners, Norco Seniors and Pets Relief Fund, the NHA, the Saddle Sore Riders, and numerous other organizations that needed assistance. Both Karlene and Bob have assisted many in this community out of the goodness of their hearts, and all of Norco appreciates them for all the work that you've done. Congratulations, Karlene, for many, many years of hard work and dedication to the city of Norco. I'm gonna do this in two parts. I'm gonna present you with this certificate and this pin, okay? And then I'm gonna ask Kevin to say just a few words.
I heard that. So, Karlene, you are so deserving of this. Not just for all the Peppermint Ridge stuff, but I love to go back and look at your history. You've been volunteering for like 1,000 years. I mean, in 1943, you were the president of the Junior Red Cross. You were just a little kid. Of course, you were. Yeah, well, I looked it up. There you are. You were head of the youth rally in '46, PTA parent education hostess. What was the parent education you were in charge of? Telling people what to do? Is that?
I don't know. I don't remember that far back, but Norco was the only Norco elementary school. The center is now. Rona only had graduating class. I have seen a lot of things.
So she got to Norco. They would visit in the late 20s. They moved here officially in 35, 36. She met her husband at the Baptist church. Now, I'm not sure what kind of church that was because she was 15. She got married at 16, correct?
I wasn't pregnant.
Yeah. And
Sailor, he was a corpsman of the Naval Hospital.
and he was a genuine war hero. He was wounded at Peleliu, and took about over a year to recover. And she took care of him during that time up in Santa Cruz. And then she's one of our pioneers for our city. I mean, she's been involved in 1,000 things, going back to even, well, I don't know why you complained about the water system. You know, Chad, she goes back to the days when it was open reservoirs, and you could actually get fish out of the pipes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The boys, not the girls. The boys would climb into the water tank up in the hill. Climb in and swim. Once in a while, we'd get a little fish.
And
Sometimes we'd get muddy water.
so anyway, she is, as I can find, she is the longest continuous resident of Norco standing today. She's 94 years old. She was married to Bob, 94, right? And married to Bob over 70 years, who I miss very much. He was a very good friend of mine. And we just want to thank you for your service. Are any of your volunteers here right now?
Yes, those that volunteer, you know, we have the Hillside Farm craft there.
Is anybody here who volunteers and makes cookies, the famous cookies?
Any volunteers?
Stand up. We got Mark. And of course her son. So anyway, she definitely deserves this. I'm glad the mayor brought you to everybody's attention once again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Oh, Karlene? We have to get a photo.
Fall where this partner, not
Okay, so we have now a proclamation. This is for the Day of the Child, and I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Grunmeyer to do that for us. Robin?
All right, Erica, would you like to come up and you can stand right here with me? So today we are going to recognize April 23rd as Corona Norco Day of the Child by presenting a proclamation to Erica Warner from the Corona Norco Unified School District. And I'm going to go ahead and read a few portions of the proclamation. So whereas the Day of the Child is observed nationwide as an official celebration of young children as a vital component in the growth and spirit of our community, and whereas the Corona Norco Day of the Child as a nonprofit organization since the early 1990s celebrates each year by providing a free day of public information resources, fun activities, games, and entertainment for the children and their families, and whereas the annual event celebration is comprised of local service organizations, schools, businesses, and other nonprofits coming together to provide information on family resources in our communities, and whereas the 28th annual Corona Norco Day of the Child 2022 is themed Calling All Superheroes, will be held at Corona City Park on Saturday, April 23rd, 2022, and you can visit the website at coronanorcodayofthechild.org for more details. Now I, therefore, Greg Newton, Mayor of City of Norco, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 23rd, 2022 as Corona Norco Day of the Child and encourage the community to join in the celebration and lend support to this worthwhile event by donating, volunteering, they can always use volunteers, and or attending the event. Thank you.
Thank you. We just want to thank you for recognizing this day. We've been really hoping we would be able to bring it back. We know it's an event that a lot of our families look forward to because it's free fun for their children, and not everybody can provide that to their kids. So we're excited to bring it back, and we appreciate the support of the city in celebrating this day with us. Thank you.
Okay. This is a proclamation for Volunteer Month. Tonight we are recognizing April as National Volunteer Month by presenting a proclamation to the community members who have volunteered countless hours in our city. Will Marilyn Grusha? No? Okay. Jim Sasson, please step up. Dave Spratley is not here. He couldn't make it. Bonnie Slager. And I think I'm forgetting one person, and I can't remember who. Norva. Okay. So we'll have a few whereases for you. In 1974, the United States government first established National Volunteer Week to celebrate the impact of volunteer service in our communities. And in 1991, President George H.W. Bush declared April as National Volunteer Month as part of his 1,000 Points of Light campaign, and dedicated the month to recognizing the importance of volunteering and honoring the significant contributions volunteers make by generously donating their time and talents to worthy causes. And in 2008, the City of Norco established its volunteer program to encourage community members to participate in civic activities that strengthen existing programs and promote the development of new programs. More than 500 registered volunteers invested 39,172 reported volunteer hours with an estimated value of over $1 million from the years 2019 to the years 2022. Pretty impressive. The City of Norco recognizes its local volunteers who are essential to providing quality services to the residents of our community, and the City of Norco is a diverse community that is honored to celebrate the history and the legacies of volunteers who have contributed to the economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development of our city, state, and country. Now, therefore, I, Greg Newton, Mayor of the City of Norco, on behalf of the City Council, do proclaim April 2022 as National Volunteer Month in the City of Norco, where all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions to our community. Thank you all very much. And I'm going to ask all three of you to speak. Jimmy. Don.
Volunteering in this town is not a job. It's fun. We just have a great time with everything that we do. And I so appreciate everybody that's here tonight, my Kool-Aid gang, and also my children. One that came as far as from El Cajon and Huntington Beach and Long Beach. So I appreciate all of my broods showing up. But it's not, we don't volunteer in this town, we just have fun. Am I right, guys? Thank you.
Audie?
This was a total surprise to me. I had no idea. Nobody told me. Thank you very much on behalf of the city. As Norva says, volunteering is how you get involved and know people in this town. And particularly since I retired, I've been doing more of it. And again, I'm totally surprised and speechless about getting this. So thank you very much.
Well, we made a mistake.
Exactly.
You can just say thanks.
Exactly.
Thank you. Jim, you're going to have to come back up for a photo. But I'd like to make one note that to me kind of says everything about volunteers in this town. That so we have one young lady that decided to come all the way from her new home in Idaho to volunteer for Horse Week. Corinne Holder.
No picture time. Picture time. You're up again.
Get back on your little, everybody got one? Back on your little X.
Okay.
So, yeah. Bingo tonight. Bingo.
We can just go ahead, just make a motion to approve everything and adjourn and go play bingo.
I make a motion to approve everything. John's on the phone, so we're.
I don't think we really want to do that, though, do we? We'll get through it here. City council reports and regional boards. Mayor Pro Tem Grunmeyer will start the council communications.
April 14th, we had our youth town hall. Just over 200 young people attended. Some of our council colleagues were there as well. Kiwanis was there, had a bunch of gift cards, over like $500 in gift cards that were distributed to participants that evening. Rotary was there and got rave reviews for the hamburgers that they cooked and provided free dinner for the students. And all of our speakers kept it short and sweet and to the point. The evening ran very smoothly. So very thankful to those groups that helped to collaborate to make this a successful event for the city and the school district.
Thank you.
On April 12th, I attended a tour of the Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District facilities. And just want to encourage everyone to follow them on social media. They're working to keep us safe from diseases that we often don't even have to think about. Mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animal. 725,000 people die each year from diseases caused by mosquitoes. So they have a bunch of information that are on their website. So we got to tour how they're breeding them, IDing them, and what they're doing to make sure that any outbreaks are found, managed, controlled, and keeping people safe. And then for all of the other activities that I attended, they're up on my social media. Thank you.
The best part was the egg hunt. I had a great time there. That was my favorite event. And then I want to just sort of highlight the event that Robin put on. She did an outstanding job. That's the second one I've attended that she's organized. It was fantastic, and I just really want to give kudos to Mayor Pro Tem Grunmeyer for what you did. It was fabulous. Thank you.
I was busy. One of the things, and Kevin talked about, things you go to, it was fun, the reopening of Riley Gym and seeing the Riley family there, the historical point of view of that and how it was named and the dedication Mr. Riley, or former councilman, put in his family on there. Some of the other one, and this is from the Riverside County Transportation Commission, and I want y'all to be aware of this. This is what's the one-size-fits-all mentality up in Sacramento. I know we beat it up, but not only are they went after our housing, but they're going to start going into our transportation dollars, our local transportation measures that we have, like Measure A. The state wants us to comply with their agenda as far as climate control, the green energy programs, and their transportation way of doing things up in Sacramento. So our Riverside County Transportation Commission is opposed to this bill, and it's AB 2438, and that's what they're pushing through. So we definitely want to keep track of this and see what's going on, because it is. You can't. Local people know a little better what to do with your transportation funding and your tax money, rather than having Sacramento keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So I just went. And one of the things, and Councilmember Grunmeyer and I got to tour Norco Elementary in the intermediate schools. I can tell you, in looking at those programs in those schools, I was amazed at what they did there in the building, in the improvements they made on those campuses, especially Norco Elementary. If you get to go into that facility, you have little ones or grandkids, for most people in this room, they do some amazing things there at that school on that campus. And Norco Intermediate, they didn't have a gym there when I was there, and that was cool. that gymnasium and the weight room for these kids, it's like Kevin says, if you can keep them out of the back of the patrol car, you're doing a good job. And I tell you, that gymnasium and that weight room program there, if it helps our kids on the right track, so be it. The rest of the stuff is there, but I'm going to give kudos to my council member, Scrunmeyer. Her kids all through, they helped us at Horse Week with our kids rodeo, Challenge Children's Rodeo. She brought kids over, and the youth, the softball kids and the youth. You look at a whole new perspective of what, not just what you read on TV. I mean, you see on TV or you read the newspaper. The bad kids, these are positive things these kids are doing, and part of it's what Ms. Solomon and Ms. Grunmeyer are doing here. These are kids are right there, and it's fun to see these teenagers helping out at these events. And so kudos to you both, especially you, Robin, for all the kids in the FFA program. They've worked their tails off at Horse Week, so thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, so on April 7th, attended the special board of directors meeting for the Chino Basin Desalter Authority. And then Michelle, you did a great job on the gymnasium. Yep. So that grand opening was great. Andy and I, the city manager, we attended a meet and greet with Governor Newsom's Inland Empire Regional Office. I think it was somewhat productive. We had discussions on the hotel, the prison, and there was one other thing I thought, but that was and grant money. That's right, because that we talked about the budget a little bit, and there was $500 million for one item, I think for housing or something like that, and I made a request that we would be satisfied if they could just give us 1% of that. So we'll see how that works out. But overall, it was a good meeting. Along with Council Member Hoffman, we met with Waste Management, a little bit on our manure to energy and some of the changes that are going to be coming up that we're going to see with Waste Management here in the hopefully the not too soon or soon future. I did also want to thank Robin for the unload meeting. You did a great job, but we can't forget that Ted is the one that cooked all the hamburgers along with his group for all those kids and all the participants. So both of you, a great job. With that, we'll move into the consent calendar. Dana?
All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Prior to the motion to consider any action by the presiding governmental body, any public comments on any of the consent items will be heard. There will be no separate action unless members of the governmental body or the audience request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar. Items removed from the consent calendar will be separately considered under item 3 of the agenda.
Thank you, Dana. Are there any items that any council member would like to pull? Seeing none, do we have any public comments?
I have no public comments, Mayor.
Good.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Please vote. Go. Guys, we're working. Okay, I'll look at it. That's weird. Yeah, it's not showing him on. Okay. I will go ahead and call for Councilmember Bash. Yes. Councilmember Hoffman. Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move into public comments. And once again, I'll call upon the city clerk.
Excuse me. This is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding matters not on the agenda may be heard. Please submit a speaker card to the meeting clerk. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the governmental body's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. The governmental body shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. We have 3 comment cards, the first one being Bonnie Slager. Okay, great. Councilmember Bash.
Hello again, Bonnie.
Good evening again. Thank you. Handout tonight. I think, as all of you are aware, every year Norco Horsemen's Association comes up with the 10 most needed trail improvements, and this is our list. We have presented it to the Streets and Trails Commission already. There's 2 that I particularly want to point out to you. Number 8, the south side of the community center. I've been talking about this for more than 5 years. This is where there is a resident that has encroached onto city property, has not only built a fence, but put a small building, plus they drive from the community center parking lot, they drive up the trail onto their additional property with vehicles. And I was told that Amanda had met with them, and there was a survey done, and they met with them, and they do agree that the property does belong to the city, not to them. And so I'd really like to see you move forward with reclaiming that before it goes longer and memories get bad and the property gets sold to somebody else or whatever. And I think now is the time to act and reclaim that property and design a nice trail through that area. Remember that the only way you have a trail system is when it goes through. You have that beautiful Alhambra crossing. You have the nice trail in front of the community center. You start up the hill and you run into this residence fence and building there, and you can't go through. So I'd really encourage you to have somebody look at designing a trail to finish that up. The other one that I wanted to particularly point out is number 9 on your list. On North Street, it's so odd because on North Street you have trail on both sides. It goes completely through on the north side. On the south side you have a trail, a lovely trail that goes just past, I believe the street is Wyatt Place, I believe. And then it goes past the house, which was all part of that development. And then the trail stops, and on the corner there of Crestview and North Street, I believe is where Larry's Appliance Place used to be. I believe that's going to be a brewery. And it would seem to me that people might want to ride their horse up on the south side of North Street there to the brewery instead of having to be on the other side. Or what I'm really concerned about is because there's no trail for a couple properties there, that people will end up in the street, and riding in the street on North Street is not an optimal situation. So it seems to me that as we have that microbrewery opening there, it would be important to finish the trail right there. So those are the 2 that I particularly wanted to point out to you. Some of these things have been on here since Berwin was young, so that gives you an idea. And Greg was a lot younger too.
Thank you, Bonnie. I think your 3 minutes is...
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andy, could you give us a report back on specifically items 8 and 9? And And maybe an update on that project also to see if it's a condition.
Okay. Next speaker is Mike Williams.
Good evening, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good to see everybody, council, staff, guests. I'm here to wear another hat tonight. I got a little tip for you. If your wife ever comes home someday and says, honey, I saw motorcycles riding amongst the buffalo in Yellowstone Park, do you think that would be fun? Run out the front door, okay? Harley Davidson is very happy with us. I was in a meeting the other week. I am part of the Inland Empire Harley Owners Group. They're a nonprofit organization that's sponsored by Harley Davidson, Riverside Harley Davidson here in the Inland Empire. And we also support West Coast Thunder. Because of COVID, West Coast Thunder wasn't able to have their event this year with the same year-long planning as Horse Week or any of these other numbered events. What they have asked is that they've decided to put on a poker ride. It's going to start in Riverside at Riverside Harley Davidson. They were looking for military-themed based areas that we might go to collect the cards. And I stuck my hand up and said Veterans Memorial in Norco. Perfect place to go. Nobody knew about it except the residents that were sitting there. So West Coast Thunder is a tax-exempt nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to honoring those who gave all. The proceeds from West Coast Thunder events benefit the Riverside National Cemetery Support Committee via the West Coast Thunder Foundation. And they've been going since May of 2000, and to date they have donated over $1.2 million to the Riverside National Cemetery. Seems like a worthwhile deal. We are asking for the council's support. Request letters have been forwarded to staff, and I think it'll be a great opportunity. May 28th is the day that we're looking at right now, right around Memorial Day weekend, and I look forward to it, and I look forward to the support from the city, and this is an opportunity to showcase one of the most beautiful memorials there is. So thank you very much for your time.
Mike, you see you have reached out to staff and
I have, yes, sir.
All the particulars, so okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My last speaker card is Mike Thompson.
Hi, Mike.
Good evening, Council. I noticed on the consent calendar the minutes from the last Planning Commission was removed, so it's perfect. I want to your approval of it. But at that last meeting, I asked about Section 18 of the Norco Code, that it might be time to put an ad hoc committee back together to review that code section a little bit with the new addition of the adult or the accessory dwelling units that they don't have any control over. Concern was how those will impact our animal keeping area. And Commissioner Archivito did mention the graduated setback is being used, and he's witnessed, and myself too, that where some buildings are being moved off the back of the lot. From the rear property line, we're ending up with 20, 30 feet of space between accessory building and the back fence, and it's just turning into a pile, cars, just collections. People don't want to put their animals back there. And again, in this section, you know, we've always had the square animal keeping area, not tried to make odd shapes. So I would ask maybe that you would think about this whole, just needs another kind of a peek see. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
We have no further speaker cards, Mayor.
Thank you. Legislative matters. I'll call upon you again, Dana. Thank you.
No problem. No new evidence will be heard from the public as the public hearing has been closed regarding the items listed.
Item 5A is an ordinance number 1082, second reading. There'll be no discussion on this item. I will ask for a motion to approve. We have a motion and a second.
I'll look at it in just a second. Councilmember Bash? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
As my previous no.
Councilmember Grummeyer?
Yes.
And motion carries with Councilmember Hoffman voting no.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Item 6, discussion and action items.
Order of presentation for discussion items. Number 1, staff report presentation. Number 2, council questions of staff. 3, public comment. 4, council discussion and action.
Thank you, Dana. Chad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is in relation to the Palomino Business Park. As you know, it's well underway. There's a lot of activity going on over there with the buildings going up. Roadway improvements are going to start very soon, first on Mountain Avenue. Specifically, one of the questions that were recently asked of staff is as they're developing Mountain Avenue, they're planning to put a mid-block intersection signal there into their main entrance. And Caprock wanted to know if the city intended to provide a name for that entrance. So staff looked at that and determined, making a recommendation, and this is what's before you today. We thought it would be appropriate, since most of that property was owned by the Eisen family, is our suggestion is actually to name that Eisen Way as a way to memorialize the Eisen family's contribution to the community. So that's what we have before you is whether or not you'd like to move forward with naming that section, the main entrance, into the Palomino project as Eisen Way, or if you have any other alternatives you'd like to suggest. But we're looking for your recommendation at this time. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chad. Any council questions of staff?
I have one, just real quick. Chad, there's no notice here that this went to Streets and Trails Commission.
Correct.
Okay, so this never went to them, right?
No, it was literally 2 weeks ago that they asked the question. We talked with the Eisen family if they're interested, and then we brought it right to council for approval.
And I understand the timetable. I just wish it had gone to Streets and Trails. That would have been just me, but I support this. I just wanted to know why it didn't go to Streets and Trails. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I saw some cards. I'm in favor of this.
Do we have any cards?
I have no speaker cards for this item.
Okay, so
Motion of approval.
let's wait, Kevin. We'll have council discussion and action. I'm with Ted on this also, that I think anything with streets and trails, this should have gone back to there's no immediate rush on this, that this should have gone to Streets and Trails Commission, even if it would just be their blessing on it. And I'll ask the rest of our colleagues how feel about that. But I was going to, and Kevin, you have known the Eisen family better than anyone else. But on Eisen Way, I was thinking, what about if it said Eisen Family Way? To maybe qualify it a little more. And I'm fine with it either way. I was just kind of looking for your opinion on that.
I mean, I did think maybe using the patriarch and matriarch, I was thinking of using their names, but Hilda and Harry, Eisen Way, that might, I think they're just going to be happy that we're doing this, but I kind of like using their exact names. So, and for anybody, and it is a long name, but you know, the Eisens won. We wouldn't. They were the ones that fought for us to become a town. They gave us first $10,000. We had no money in the bank, and you know, they were Holocaust survivors. Her story is just awful. She she suffered at the hands. She got captured. She was fighting in the forest in Poland, and she got captured. They literally, the entire garrison practically raped her. She decided to kill herself, jumped out of a second-floor barn, broke both legs, and crawled back and fought again. Harry held off Panzer Division, a division on horseback, till they finally captured him. He went to Auschwitz and then worked in the mining camps, and he escaped. And when they, at the end of the war, they just needed protection, so they just sort of divvied up the men and said, okay, you get this one, you get this one, you get this one. And then they came to the United States with about less than $1 in their pocket, began to raise chickens, and they became the #1 supplier for the U.S. military, and they employed, over the years, thousands and thousands of people. So I think that I think the family would be honored if you, even though it's long, I think they'd be honored if you used their parents' name. And I like that, but Eisen family is good too. But you know.
Well, what would you think, Kevin, if we took these different variations and asked it to go back to Streets and Trails?
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
And whatever.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what the family thought too, if they have a preference.
Sure.
I would agree. As someone who's been in public safety in street names, the other thing to do when you're responding, especially if you're responding out there for him, is keep it simple and easy. I understand, and Kevin, I absolutely agree with you.
I'm good.
The family
anyway.
name, Eisen family, or even Harry, but I know the chief's sitting back there and the sheriff's and Justin's back there. Keeping it simple if you have to respond, but that's going to be an easy thing. Just a thought, but I agree with.
We
let it go
are
back
building
like
something. We're scheduling.
Unique.
We're
Absolutely.
building something unique up at the memorial for the family. So.
But I agree, Mayor. I should go back to the Streets and Trails. Let them figure it out. Thank you,
Robin.
I would agree, and as you know, several of us probably drive through like Chino and parts of Corona and Eastvale. For me, street names matter. I think sometimes with housing developments and streets that they kind of throw things out there to kind of pay homage to what was there before. But I think after a while that wears off, where if something that was more specific to that family for me would be more meaningful. But certainly support it going back to Streets and Trails and letting them have that discussion, having discussions with the family and bringing something back to us, I think is a good idea and good practice.
You're okay with that, Catherine? And Kevin, on your note, I remember one time you and I were visiting with Harry, and the shock of my life seeing when he pulled back his sleeve and showed me his tattoo from the concentration camp, and it gets your attention. So if you'd like a direction, I think it's the opinion of Council Chad that this goes back to Streets and Trails and come back with their recommendation, and also reach out to the family. Okay. Dana, that'll work okay for a recommendation? Okay.
That's a good motion. I just need a second.
All right.
Kevin. And I'm just going to call the vote on this one.
Okay.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Well, I can.
Councilmember Bash? Yes. Councilmember Alleman?
Yes.
Councilmember Grummeyer?
Yes.
Mayor Newton?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving into City Council staff communications. I'll call on city staff to see if anyone has anything to report. City Attorney, John. City Manager, Andy. Ted?
Yes, I do. And this is simple. This comes back to something when Councilmember Grunmeyer and I went out traveling around. One of the things we found, and as sitting on the RTA board, our bus transportation can only do on certain routes. But we got a lot of young people in our town, and you'll notice if you go there at elementary school time at pickup, the schools are when the schools let out, traffic is bad. So in Corona, they have what is known as Corona Cruisers. That's their city's own bus line that they use. It's all part of the RTA. And I'm thinking perhaps we could have maybe staff or someone look into the possibility, because federal law prevents us using RTA as a bus route for kids. They can't do it. So, but the Corona Cruiser is different. So that's supported by the city of Corona. I don't know if it's perhaps we could go hook up with them, provide some kind of transportation. Again, this is public transportation. If you teach young kids early that what you can do on public transportation, maybe we'll use it more. So I would like to see us work with the city of Corona, see how they develop theirs, and maybe extend their routes here, because we have kids from Corona at the outskirts that go to our schools. So just thinking about that, since RTA can't help us that much, but just a thought.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Robin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two things. The first one, I would just like to publicly thank the Horse Week Committee and all the volunteers. We've had 6 days of events already, counting today, 3 more to go. It takes a lot of work and effort and a lot of hands, so just a shout out to them. The events have been packed. They've been great, and so I'm hoping that that continues this week. The next one, I would like to ask my colleagues if they would support me in agendizing a discussion on closing Crestview Avenue at North Drive at a future meeting. Huh? Mm-hmm.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you.
Those
But-
close Crestview
At North. Yeah.
at North.
But under discussion,
Mm-hmm.
would you like to modify that a little bit to maybe include like some restrictive signage or turns at 7th and 8th Street in California?
Oh.
To include it with that?
Yes, I'll take that as a friendly amendment.
Good signage at 7th Street, correct?
Yeah, restrictive signage at 7th and 8th under the whole discussion.
Question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, if that comes to council, are we just going to send it to Streets and Trails? Should we send it to Streets and Trails first?
Oh, that's a good question on process. I'm good with that.
Yeah, but I think it needs more of a direction.
Just one.
Yeah. I mean,
What would the process on that be, Chad?
Well, since staff doesn't really have a direction from council of what needs to be discussed,
be
I think
discussed
there should
first.
be
Yeah.
just a generic, if I could, a generic discussion amongst council, and also to educate council on the possibilities of doing the requirements to that. And then once we kind of lay out the groundwork, then you can give us direction to bring a recommendation or possibilities to Streets and
Okay.
Trails that eventually would
Would
come
come
back
back.
to you.
Okay.
And just so you know, this has been tried twice before.
no, but you want
There's-
to reference your assembly bill?
Yeah, there's new
Right.
legislation that could
Mhm.
potentially support our decision now.
It's what Urupa Valley's using to stop San Bernardino trucking going into their area.
So,
We have the motion from
Right.
Robin, and
Second.
so for Kevin. And then I will call Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Councilmember Bash.
Yes.
Councilmember Alleman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grummeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Newton.
yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Dana. Anything else, Robin?
Nope. That's it.
Catherine?
I have 2 things as well. One, I want to thank staff for the Easter egg hunt. It was extremely well managed. I had parents come up to me to let me know, since they saw me in my council shirt, do you work for the city? And they wanted to give compliments that they've been to several egg hunts at other cities where it was much more chaotic. Parents were stealing eggs from kids. And if you've read anything on Facebook, that happened in some neighboring communities. So really just want to commend staff on the organization and the amount of eggs and the excitement that was there. It's always wonderful when someone finds us and they have good things to say. So thank you for that. And then the second thing, I wanted to ask for council support and to make a motion to ask staff to formalize and bring back a policy that outlines the policies and procedures for community nonprofit support on behalf of the city. So looking at how does that work? How does someone ask for it? Do we have certain groups that get priority in terms of use of city facilities or staffing or direct city assistance to kind of streamline that? I know we have some established practices that kind of have been used in the past, but kind of putting it all together so there's something formal that's clear to communicate to the community and clear for everyone to understand where our priorities are.
And you want to take that as a motion? And I'll second that.
Councilmember Hoffman? Yes. Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Alleman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grunmeyer? Mayor Newton?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First off, one of the things that's sort of burgeoning right now, all through the Inland Empire, is the cottage industries at home, the home kitchens. And I'd like to see if we could agendize a discussion on that to sort of get into the loop at a future council meeting, talk about kitchens. I mean, they're all health department certified and stuff.
Question, are you talking about like the county has an ordinance about like micro kitchens and kind of regulating how many people
They
can
cook
visit
bread,
the house within a week?
How many people? Right now, we don't have any regulations at all in terms of it's just sort of a blanket policy, and I think that we kind of have to look at it.
Kevin, just so I understand it, so you want something that would follow the Riverside County Health Department rules, or just?
Well, I think that we need to have something that is, in other words, so that we have a way of handling it here in Norco. We have codes that specifically handle those home kitchens because they're becoming very popular.
No, I know, and I've dealt with them before.
So if we follow it through the county, I don't really know how they work. I don't do one.
Okay.
But I think that I would like to just, let's see if we can codify it and make it clear, because I do think it's the wave of the future.
Well, no, yeah, because I've seen it before. We have actually a couple in here that are approved by the county already. I'm just trying to figure out, you want to supersede, or if you just
No, I think what's happening is you're having issues with traffic. We have certain requirements in terms of how many people can come to the residence. I think we just need to codify it to
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted us to get into the.
No,
health
I mean the county. I mean, we can't supersede the county
No,
on the health
okay.
file. But what we do have, or in other words, you have a neighbor that gets upset and somebody's selling bread.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they're claiming it's going clear around the block, and every other neighbor's going, "That's not happening."
All right, that's fine. We can discuss. I don't want to. Thank you.
So what do we?
Well, still under discussion. Alma, you have some direction on that? I know that we have a few of those businesses in town.
I know exactly what he's talking about, so yeah.
Okay. And then what's the process for West Coast Thunder? Normally, and it may change, normally it just goes to the Veterans Committee, they vote, and I can't see they're going to stand in the way of this. So does council want to make that decision, or this may fall in line with what Catherine's asking in terms of, I'm not sure.
Just to give you, Mike approached me about it, so
yeah, I've been following.
I pointed it to Michelle, so because of the Veterans Committee, so. And I know.
Certainly agendize that for the next meeting.
Yeah, but just so long make sure it's on our Veterans Committee meeting for the first.
Okay.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Under discussion, that's a staff level decision, right? Because the Veterans Commission is technically a citizens group, so that would be your department, Michelle, that would give the city formal approval, and that would just be partnering with the commission.
The committee, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Kevin, is that going to be enough time?
That's what my worry is. What's the time frame on that? How soon do they have to know?
Well, before I give them, the discussion with Mike today was we have to take into consideration the delivery date of the monument that's coming. So we have unofficial word today that the monument was going to be shipped end of April, beginning of May. So we have to determine how long it's going to take to get here, and there's another monument coming the same time, but it's stopping in New Mexico first. So we're trying to nail down the timing of that, and that might affect this requested event for the installation of the monument. So we're still in a little bit of a limbo right now, so I'll be working with Amanda to figure that out.
Yeah, and in terms of the committee, they are an advisory committee, but they tend to have some sway. And then finally, I don't know if you all saw the article, Steve Hemingway, who is the La Sierra District councilman, he's trying to go nuclear now, and he seems to feel that he thinks he may have 3 votes now to underground. But one of the things he said made me a little nervous. He said, well, Norco only has one little corner. And I was like, Steve, dude, it's going to come across the river. And then and so I'd like to underground through there. And I also pointed out that we have the equestrian area. And I also pointed out the fire danger. And John, if you can remember, one of the things that I've been fighting this so friggin' long, I can't believe it. But the fire danger was never addressed in the original environmental impact study.
That's accurate. Yes, that's true.
Okay, so Steve thinks that it was, and it never was. And I thought, maybe I'm crazy. And he thought, well, maybe it was a later iteration.
In fact, if you remember, the discussion was, well, we didn't think that we, the CPUC, didn't have to do it because they weren't obligated to send it to fire unless fire asked for it.
And so politically what's happened is, if you go back to the Chino fight, what happened with the Chino fight, aside from every elected official losing their job, every single one of them pro or con, what happened was they filed a lawsuit, but where they got lucky was a new PUC board was sat. And all of it, and they had people there going, what do you mean you're going to put these things up? They're ugly. We now have a similar situation. We have a new PUC committee. So I don't know what we need to do moving forward. May 10th, I talked to Steve about maybe getting residents to go and speak on May 10th, but sometimes councils get it, which I don't really care. I don't care what they think. But I think if we go respectfully, but how does council want to approach addressing this? Because it looks like Steve is getting some purchase. And how do we jump on top of this and move forward? Do we need to agendize it? But then that puts us, we don't have the time. Can we send a letter? Can we do a flyer that, I'll walk the neighborhood where they're going to be affected, but the reality is, if there's ever a fire there, everybody in that whole area is going to be affected. So can we authorize some sort of a flyer that we put out, or do we want to do that, or do we want to send a letter from the mayor? I'm looking for ideas here.
Well, we've sent plenty of letters, and I don't know what traction we've gotten from those. Kevin, the trick is just keep the full court press on. And there is that neighborhood group that, if you outreach to them, let them help circulate that support, I think that would go pretty quick.
So do you recommend a flyer? How do you recommend we reach out to them?
I'm not a communications person, so.
Well, you're talking about the neighborhood watch group?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a matter of just reaching out and asking them to circulate the information about attending with some talking points. I could help do that. The direction is supposed to be that they're bringing back the cost to see if it's feasible to underground so that they can push for it. So that's what's supposed to be coming back at their meeting. Is what is it going to cost? Is it feasible for them to do that? So absolutely, I think, asking residents to go, and we can send another letter, again, stating our position, that this needs to be looked at and to keep the pressure on, because the pressure is causing them to rethink now what they're going to do.
Initially when I talked to Andy, I talked about the idea of I could write something, but I think it needs to come from all of us. And so maybe get Kelly on it, and then I'd be happy to walk and talk to their we could all do it. And but I think we need to move like this week and get going on it.
We can put together a letter real easy.
Yeah.
And get that out.
That's one thing we can do.
Yep.
Another thing we can do is include this in our top stories. Basically asking residents to go up and show up and make comments during the City of Riverside Council meeting.
Yeah, or write in or call in, whatever their options
Right.
are for public comment if they can't attend. Yeah.
And I will walk the neighborhood, so if I could have some unified talking points, I would appreciate that, so that I know that I'm representing all 5 of us. If we could have something along those lines, it would be helpful. Or Kelly's good at that.
Yeah, but specific to the project itself, the talking
Right.
points. Obviously,
Okay.
we can go back to our records, and we have plenty of information on that we can look back and cite. But yeah, we send out information to the residents.
The heart of the issue is that if they above ground them, everybody else pays for Riverside's project. If they underground it, they're unclear, but they're pretty certain Riverside would have to pay for it.
Burden falls on them.
It falls
But
on
was
them.
that the same in the Chino case?
What happened was with Chino was they actually put up the first,
right,
and that's everybody went, oh my God, and that is what happened with the Chino case. But they got the PUC to get behind them, to help them. And then the other thing we have, according to Steve, he thinks he's about ready to tip it in his favor to go underground. But I want to make sure Norco doesn't get. He kind of made me nervous when he said, Norco only has one little corner, and I went, whoa, wait a minute, it's a little bit bigger.
We
than
have
that.
a whole riverbed like you and I
Kevin.
talked about. Okay.
Kevin, have you reached out to the county parks for the Hidden Valley?
Yeah, we have, and the
I know,
problem.
but I mean, just update them with that. see what
I
we
think
can-
we can. The problem, as you know, is that they are employed by the supervisors, and frankly, the supervisors hosed us. The old attorney from the city of Riverside was their advising attorney, and they signed off on letting it go through. Now, the other piece of this, by the way, is Takano and Calvert are working together. The other piece is if in November there's a landslide, the right gets in charge. And what happens then is they then take these positions that Calvert will then probably be able to at least block it going through the land that the federal government gave to the county, which was the plan they tried to do before, but they weren't in charge. Okay. So fingers crossed on that, at least from the parks point of view.
Well, Andy, let's start with putting together a letter and then just moving into the top stories and on the communications front. And
Just to be clear on the letter aspect of it, are you looking for City Council of Norco to address a letter to the City Council of Riverside, which,
Yeah.
as a matter of public records, will be read?
I think talk about the fire danger, which was never properly addressed, and I think talk about the idea that they're an eyesore, and the other thing that may resonate is this is a habitat area, and these things are. But the big one for us is fire. I mean, this is one of the with the death of the habitat area in the Chino dairy area, which is where birds and things used to land. They now land in this area. This is one of the last, as we're being forced to cover up land. These habitats are they're dying, they're going away, and this Santa Ana River Channel is one of the last habitat areas, literally, that's considered, quote, pristine.
okay. Well, with that, guys all have a good evening, good rest of Horse Week. We're adjourned.